Ukraine is building the world's first fleet of kamikaze drones that can become a revolution in wars at sea. Their main target will be the Russian fleet, and this would be the story of how a country without a fleet, that is Ukraine, can destroy the fleet that was thought to be one of the world's most powerful marine powers, Russian fleet. Today we are going to tell you the story of the mysterious ghost drones that attacked the Black Sea fleet of Russia in the Sevastopol Bay, and explain how this would change the principles of conducting modern wars at sea and turn any monstrous and costly naval fleet into a set of very expensive cans. So on Saturday, 29th of October, a dozen of Ukrainian kamikaze boats attacked the Russian fleet in the Black Sea, in the bay of the Ukrainian Crimean peninsula occupied by the Russians. These drones that managed to enter the most secure bay and detect the Russian fleet are of Ukrainian origin, and Ukraine is making more of them now. For the first time in marine wars history, unmanned sea kamikaze drones staged a real battle. They attacked the very flagship of the Russian fleet and did it on the territory under the enemy's control, and at the most protected military base in this part of the world, in Sevastopol Bay, where the Black Sea Fleet of Russia is based. At 4 a.m., explosions and shooting rang out in occupied Sevastopol. The attack was planned and released by Security Service of Ukraine and Ukrainian Navy. They released the incredible footage of the attack taken directly from the drones that were used during the attack on the Russian fleet.
Охренеть.
Это он поймал, что ли, кого-то?
Это, походу, подводный дрон был.
Да ладно.
Да.
Russian ships were attacked by the same mysterious naval drones, one of which the Russians found near Sevastopol a month before, in September. That drone might be lost by Ukraine during the testing or preparation for an attack. The connection with it might be lost, and the drone was thrown by the waves onto the coast controlled by the occupiers. That morning that the drones attacked the Russian fleet, according to satellite images, there were at least 9 warships in the area, including 2 frigates and 2 submarines, one of which was in a dry dock, probably undergoing repairs. The Russian Ministry of Defense officially stated that 9 unmanned aircraft and 7 maritime drones took part in the attack. Officially, the Russians confirmed that allegedly only one vessel, minesweeper Ivan Golubets, was affected. Russia does not confirm any other loss, but according to various reports, including reports from residents of Sevastopol, up to 4 ships were hit during the night attack on Sevastopol Bay, including the flagship of the fleet, Admiral Makarov. Despite the night filming, the target can be clearly seen in the shots taken by the attacking drones. It is indeed a frigate. This is one of the latest models of the Russian military ships. There are 3 of them in the Russian fleet: Admiral Grigorovich, Admiral Essen and Admiral Makarov. All 3 joined the fleet in 2016-2017. 2 out of 3 are involved in the invasion and shelling Ukraine with Caliber missiles. One of them, Admiral Makarov, became the flagship of the Russian fleet after the previous flagship, the cruiser Moskva, sank. The armed forces of Ukraine sent the cruiser Moskva to the bottom of the Black Sea in the spring. The Ukrainian army targeted it from the shore with 2 Neptune missiles, and this was the first episode of the Ukrainian-Russian war, when Ukraine proved that countries without a fleet can fight the fleet of the attackers, the Russians. After Moskva's sinking, the Admiral Makarov became a flagship. So, according to various sources, during the night attack on the Sevastopol Bay, it was this frigate, Admiral Makarov, that was hit. The footage shown by the Ukrainian military shows the drone approaching exactly that ship. The drone's camera turns off as it closely approaches the starboard side of the frigate. It is logical to assume that it turned off because the drone hit the target and exploded. According to some reports, Admiral Makarov was out of order, at least for a while. Russian military sources also claim that Admiral Makarov is in the video. Another video shows the Russians trying to shoot down the drone that is headed for a target from a helicopter. At the same time, the drone impresses with its speed and maneuverability. One of the fragments of the video shows how it bypasses an obstacle on its way, a small patrol boat from which sailors jump into the water when the drone approaches. Now you've seen what it is, rats escaping the ship. Now about the Sevastopol Bay, where the naval drones penetrated. Sevastopol Bay is one of the most protected places in the world. Well, at least it was thought so until the attack. Indeed, just 9 months ago, the Russian army was once considered the second army in the world, and the cruiser Moskva was considered unthinkable. The bay is protected by electronic warfare systems, patrol ships, posts with armed military personnel on the piers, cameras, thermal imagers, and even trained dolphins. The entrance to the bay is protected by special boom barriers. These are steel nets that hang on special floats, reach almost to the bottom and block the entrance to the bay. These boom barriers are stretched with the help of a tugboat between two concrete breakwaters, which were built at the entrance to the bay in the late 80s. The bay entrance was fully covered with barriers. About a month ago, when the Russians discovered the first drone near Sevastopol, the American publication The War Zone analyzed satellite images that showed that the Russians had increased security in the bay. In particular, the photo again showed barriers, obviously precisely because of the threat of unmanned drone attacks. The fact that sea drones did pass into the bay proves that the barricade and all other security measures did not save the bay. And nor did they save the fleet packed with missiles worth billions of dollars in it. What are these sea drones that had never been seen before? The Russians accused some unnamed British specialists that might have been involved in the attack. The truth was revealed somewhat later when the Ukrainian president announced that it was a Ukrainian-made weapon and Ukraine is building a whole fleet of such drones. And their main target will be the Russian fleet.
На нашій фандрайзинговій платформі United24 розпочався збір коштів для створення флоту морських дронів. Я анонсував, що це буде. Отже, тепер кожен, і не тільки в Україні, але й в інших країнах може долучитись до будівництва першого в світі флоту морських дронів.
One such drone costs $250,000. It is planned to build 100 of them. A small drone with a length of 5.5 meters is capable of moving at a speed of 80 kilometers per hour for a distance of up to 800 kilometers. Its charge is enough for 60 hours. It can carry 200 kilograms of explosives. For comparison, the mass of the warhead of the Harpoon missile is 225 kilograms and of the Ukrainian rocket Neptune, which sends the cruiser Moskva to the bottom, 150 kilograms. Ukraine is now raising funds to build a fleet of 100 drones through the state-owned United24 platform. Funds for 30 drones have already been raised. Citizens of Lithuania fundraised for 2 sea drones for Ukraine. You can also donate if you want to join the hunt for the Russian fleet. A small, insolent fleet of such drones can become a revolutionary story. No one in the world has done anything like this before. Some countries have their own development of water drones, but in terms of technical characteristics and capabilities, all of them do not compare to the drone we saw in Crimea. The technology of using marine drones is so new that there are only few developments of such devices in the world. For example, American Sea Hunter drone was launched only in 2016, and it exists in a single instance. Turkey tested its naval drone only 2 years ago. Since the beginning of the invasion, naval drones have appeared on Western arms supply lists several times. In particular, they were part of the package of military aid to Ukraine, which the Pentagon announced back in April. But the only details were reported by the Pentagon at that time, limiting themselves to the explanation that they transferred unmanned surface ships that could be used for a variety of coastal defense purposes. Last year in May, the commander of the Navy of Ukraine, Vice Admiral Alexei Neizhpapa, talked about the plans to arm the fleet with drones. And he showed a presentation where drones were depicted. But this particular type of drones that attacked the Russian fleet was not on the slides behind him. Ukrainian naval drones may be more dangerous to Russian ships than many might think. Modern warships are so complex that almost any part of their hull can contain components and parts, the damage of which renders them unfit for combat. At the same time, the ships are not completely covered with armor due to the heavy weight of the armor itself. Therefore, all Russian frigates with pathetic names worth nearly $1 billion each will be vulnerable targets for drones, the cost of which is 1,000 times less. Moreover, for now, missile weapons are considered to be the most effective means of defeating large ships. Small-sized drones are difficult to spot with radar, therefore they have a high chance of getting close to the enemy while having a similar range as missiles. And above all, the threat for the Russians is the very fact that the armed forces of Ukraine have these nimble and maneuverable drones, with a sufficient explosive charge to disable Russian ships that can travel hundreds of kilometers and be almost invisible to the eye and means of electronic warfare, that can sneak into the most protected base. And if Russia is not able to protect its ships from such weapons at its own highly protected base, then what will the Russian ships do if attacked in the unprotected open sea? The battle at Sevastopol Bay was a demonstration that in a modern world, a country without a navy can destroy the ships of the most powerful navies, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, with the help of cheap drones assembled on the basis of a water scooter. Announced by Ukraine, first in history fleet of drones can become a real revolution in wars at sea. Just like many years ago, the end of the age of sails or the aircraft carriers made the revolution in the fleet. During these 9 months of war, Ukraine has proved twice that the era of big ships is coming to an end. The first time by sending the flagship of the Russian fleet, the cruiser Moskva, to the bottom by a missile of the Ukrainian coastal complex Neptune. The second was a kamikaze drone attack on Russian frigates in the Sevastopol Bay. Both attacks reveal that there soon might be no more sense to invest into enormously expensive navies. Instead, you need just 110 times cheaper kamikaze drones, and you'll prevail.